Greece is the birthplace of culture and philosophy, homeland of intellectuals and doctors. Then how can we consider the point of view of Eric Dodds, that in his most important work, The Greeks and the Irrational, analyzes this civilization using the same categories used by ethnologists to analyze primitive societies? It would be appropriate to change the question. Why would we attribute to the ancient Greece an immunity from primitive modes of thoughts, which we do not find in any society open to our direct observation? And what does Dodds mean for irrational? He defines as irrational all the aspects that a modern man would consider as irrational. Dodds analyzes a period of time that starts from 18 to the 2nd century before Christ, and the treatise starts with a very common theme in the Homeric tradition, the Ate. The feminine Greek word ate means disaster, pain, destruction, punishment. She is the daughter of Zeus and Eris. Zeus threw her down on the earth on a peak in Phrygia after she cheated on him. In the Homeric concept, ate is a state of mind, a temporary clouding or a bewildering of the normal consciousness. More generally, when a man acts in manner contrary to that system of rational disposition with which he lived for a lifetime, his act is not his own, it was imposed by someone else. Non-rational impulses tend to be excluded from the ego and attributed to a foreign origin. We can assume that the Homeric man used the concept of ate because it justifies his acts, escaping his sense of shame. It is therefore possible to theorize that the concept of ate in the Greek culture arises not only from the impulsiveness of the Homeric man, but also from the tension between individual impulse and the pressure of the social conformism, characteristic of the shame culture. On the basis of this analysis, is it possible to notice how the character of Iago in the tragedy of Otello acts just like Ate, blinding Otello and making him commit terrible actions. At the same time, Otello, just like a Homeric hero, is ready to kill Desdemona to save his honor. After his 1948 Macbeth, Wells decided to adopt another Shakespearean tragedy, Otello. There are many anecdotes linked to this not-so-idyllic economic situation, as in the case of Roderigo's murder scene. Since Wells had not received the customs, he decided to set the scene in a Turkish bath, providing actors with the only necessary costume in that context, a towel. He reinvents the whole setting, transforming the initial necessity in an opportunity to amplify Shakespeare's dramaturgy. The smoke of the Turkish bath expressed the atmosphere of the seats, and the towels used as dress enhanced the bestial and barbaric nature of the characters. In the analysis of his Otello, an important aspect of the director should be considered. Wells did not realize a mere transposition of the theatrical work. He alters the text in favor of the film effectiveness. From the beginning of the film, there is a discrepancy with Shakespeare's work. While the original work begins in a road in Venice with a dialogue between Roderigo and Iago, the film opens with the solemn funeral procession of Otello and Desdemona. Unlike Shakespeare's work, the inevitable end of the plot is evident from the beginning. With his work, Wells affirmed the primacy of the film image on adherence of the original text. Otello is undoubtedly the tragedy of jealousy, and also the tragedy in which the woman is killed by the man who said to love her. Just like Desdemona, Carmen is killed by José, and Piede Tolomei is killed by her husband who wanted to marry another woman. In the 5th canto of the Divine Comedy, there is a famous dialogue between Dante and a young woman close to her silent lover. Everyone knows that we are talking about Francesca da Rimini, who was killed by her husband for adultery. Centuries have passed, yet still many women are killed by their husbands, companions, or men close to them. In 2013, 128 women were killed. In 2014, 152 women were killed. In 2016, 116 cases of feminicide have been reported, approximately one every 3 days. Among the many considerations that can be made on this kind of violence, there is one that refers to our relationship with death. Psychoanalysis and psychology teach us the similarity between the pain caused by the death of a beloved person and the pain caused by the end of a relationship. Death creates a sense of loss and abandonment, as it produces in our lives a radical change from a practical and emotional point of view. Loss and abandonment are also typical characteristics of the end of a sentimental relationship, especially when it's not consensual. The person who does not accept the death of the bond of love, when it takes the form of a serious illness, can look for the physical death of the beloved person. Feminicide is a complex phenomenon that results of a lethal mix of cultural, personal, and pathological aspects, and this reasoning is complemented by many other psychological mechanisms involving possession, pride, jealousy, trauma, personality disorders, and frustration. It would be wrong to affirm that the character of Othello is only linked to the classical sphere, as its final act is sadly well known in our contemporary society. That is why I decided to analyze a more modern Otello. Pasolini turns in a single week Che cosa sono le nuvole. Shakespeare's Otello is adapted in a comedy with a cast including Totoni, Netto Davoli, Ciccio Ingressi and Domenico Modugno. Capriccio all'Italiana was released in 1968 and Totò, who died in April 15, 1967, did not see the film. Outside the scene, the puppet Otello, who is just born and still does not know the word, unconvinced of his role, asks to the puppet Iago, who replies, "We are in a dream, in a dream." The story unfolds on stage, as in the Shakespearean tragedy, as far as the final is interrupted by the audience, who rushes on the stage to save Desdemona before Otello kills her. Modugno loads the dead bodies of Totò and Ninetto on the van and drops them into the dump, where the two will take consciousness of the outside world and of the beauty of the world. Suddenly the camera stops and points up against an immense blue sky, where white clouds run fast. In the last moment, when they are not part of the dream of someone else, when the camera looks through his eyes, the puppets watch the clouds and die. And we, like them, see the same gash of heaven, wonderful but heartbreaking, and the fairy ends.